Welcome all to another episode of the How's Your Ground Game podcast. I'm Damoon. Joining me is Birdman over in Vero Beach. And we have a special festive episode this week. The magical pink Christmas tree. Festivus tree.
The Festivus tree, the Festivus aluminum pole. And I have a very special guest with me today.
Who is the special guest joining us?
Our special guest today is none other than Mr. Johnny Cruz.
Yes. Amazing.
Good to see you, Mr. Moon.
What's going on, JC? How are you?
How are you?
I'm good. Looking good.
Fresh from the wash and fold. Just got my recalibration. Great to see you. Glad to be part of this.
Awesome. There was an open mat today.
Open mat. You never know who's going to show up with an open mat.
You never know.
The Cruz family.
Very cool.
A lot of them.
How's everything going with you, Mr. Cruz?
It's going very well. Enjoying the Florida. It's been very cold down here. It's been in the 40s, so it's been rough.
Yeah. Good hoodie weather.
Good hoodie with it. It's been wild up here. We've had some days in the 80s, some days in the 30s. Hasn't made up its mind yet what season it is.
You got some snow recently, right? A couple days of snow?
Not snow, just like really cold rain. It was supposed to be snow, I think. I don't think it got cold enough for snow.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe
so really
upstate.
Really nice weather for you guys, huh?
Yeah, it's guessing every day, what the weather is going to be like. Constantly checking in with the weather app.
Yeah, it's tough to live like that, right?
It is what it is. It is what it is.
I'm just saying, that Florida, I don't know, not such a bad choice, right? I mean,
It seems to be. I think it's working for both of us.
it is. I mean, you got the palm trees swaying in the background. I'm on the screened-in porch. We've got a collection of waters, beverages, cats, dogs, birds. We got it all going on here, and I'm wearing shorts.
Life is good. Life is
I had a good dune buggy day today.
Oh yeah,
How's
how's it been going?
playing Meli Kalikimaka on the ukulele?
Yeah.
How's it been going with the dune buggy?
I fixed all my problems with the help of my buddy Ben down at Bill's Garage.
Awesome.
That's the bay next to me into Wash and Fold.
Okay, that's what you do. Yes.
Yeah, he just kind of walked out and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" So we got that rolling. So today, I actually, our food talk will be the burgers. So there's a Sonic drive-in on my way home from the Wash and Fold.
Okay.
And the girls come to the car in roller skates.
That's like old school.
Old school. Burger.
It's Sonic.
It's Sonic.
I thought Sonic is known for good fries.
I had the onion rings.
That'd be 0 for 2.
Yeah.
But
And the Dr. Pepper was a little flat. 0
3.
the
But they brought it to the buggy.
girl came on roller skates. So I give that 4 stars just for that.
There you go. That's Instagram worthy. You gotta just take the picture and forget about the taste.
Yeah. I should have just took the picture and drove someplace else and got at lunch.
Pitch the burger.
Yeah. Not even bought it, just took the picture. And moved on.
Sonic.
Hey, you live and learn, right?
Yeah.
It's literally
a long time.
a couple 100 feet from the gym. So I figured, you know what? I'm on the way home. Let me just try this
Yeah.
and we'll see.
Well, you got it out of the way. Now you know.
Now I know.
So is that it for the food talk? Can we talk about some good burgers? Are there any good burgers in the
Yeah, I make them in the backyard here. That's it. Other than that, no, there's the Burger Inn that's up in Melbourne, just past the airport.
Yeah.
Dynamite. This is another
you made it
drive-in. What's that?
You made it there. We were talking about
there.
That. Okay.
Made it there, and it's not a car hop where they come to your car, but you go and sit it just has like a roof and some picnic tables and stuff inside. Fantastic. Everything was great in there.
Awesome. Johnny Cruz, do you have any food topics you want to bring to the table?
So I do, and I'll bring a Vero Beach local. We went to El Cid Taqueria.
Okay.
Legit.
I think we drove by it when I was in town. It's like on the main strip, right?
It's right on the ocean.
Right on the ocean.
It has never disappointed. My 4th visit there.
Solid.
carne asada and mahi tacos for the Cruz clan. And to top it off, the Dreamsicle slushy. That is fresh orange juice slushy with vanilla ice cream. It is banging.
We were
Yep.
talking about that when we drove by. John was
Yeah,
talking.
they have. It's the there's a grove out on the mainland past US 1. I forget the name what it is. I should know. Countryside.
Okay.
Countryside Citrus Growers. They own the restaurant, so they make the ice cream and like they make a twist. You know, like usually if you go to like Dairy Queen, it's like a chocolate and vanilla twist.
Yeah, like the
But they
swirl.
also make an fresh orange ice cream that they mix with vanilla. So they make a twist of just ice cream, or I like the little slushy. So it's like ice cream and like a really super loose Italian ice slushy and then more ice cream.
Awesome.
And then when it melts, it's even better.
It's just so good. So good.
I just got my blood work back, and the one issue I didn't have was sugar, which is surprising. So
I know you're like Captain Chocolate.
That's the one thing I was worried about. He said your sugar levels are fine. Cholesterol a little high, so I feel like I was naturalized as a U.S. citizen when I was 16. Now I feel like I'm really an American with high cholesterol at 40.
There you go.
But it's not problematic, knock on wood. He said, "Do you exercise?" I go, "Yeah." He's like, "Your heart rate's fine. You're good to go. Don't worry about it."
Did they look into your mental status?
It's a different doctor. We don't go to that one.
Yeah, we don't talk about that, doctor.
So now whenever dessert options come up, anytime I eat a pastry, it's keeping me away from high cholesterol. I think that's the way I look at it.
I have the funniest medical story, and not even medical. Beth wanted me to fix the Dyson vacuum cleaner. So
Okay.
I said, I need some brain food first. So I popped out a packet of ring dings. I ate the ring dings, fixed the vacuum cleaner, and she was on a health kick where she was checking her pH. And she's like, here, I want to, I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. She's like, I want to see how horrible you are. I took it, perfect pH. Ring dings,
Ring dings.
perfect pH.
The nature's perfect food. Did you guys see the Tyson fight? This episode's going to be a little delayed, so this news is going to be a few weeks later. But
Yeah, well, I mean, I saw some clips of it. I refused to watch it.
I didn't watch it either. What are your thoughts?
Well, I read today there's a $50 million class action lawsuit against Netflix right now.
They were having issues with the stream, and it kept going down, and all this other stuff.
I, from the beginning, said it was a work.
It's a money
fight.
grab. Yeah.
Well, no, not only that, but I mean, they put Tyson in as the plus 275 underdog.
Yeah.
So, every person thinking about his heyday dropped their money on him.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm sure Vegas made billions of dollars.
For sure.
Everybody had their money on Tyson. Nobody. It was like betting on the Harlem Globetrotters and having them throw the game.
The Washington Generals didn't pull it out?
Yeah, they didn't pull it out this time.
I'm surprised they allowed betting on it, but I guess they allow betting on everything.
Well, again, it's funny that any sports you watch now, all the commercials is online betting.
Yeah.
Right? But what gets you banned from sports in the Hall of Fame if you do?
Gambling. Betting.
Gambling. All they do is push gambling, and if you gamble, you're penalized. It's just, I don't know, it's just ridiculous. It's just, I don't know. I don't get it.
It's online betting is like the next. I'm worried about the kids.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Everybody's trying to legalize weed so everybody stays high and dumb. Okay, 24 hours a day. And there's online gambling. So you're high, dumb, and you're betting, I think probably off your credit card. So, I mean, what direction do you think society's moving in?
This is not great.
Kids watching a 30-second video are stressed because it's too long to maintain your attention.
Yeah.
I think we're taking a turn. I did watch a few of the clips of the fight myself, not a boxing analyst, but it did look like there were a couple times Mike could have taken that one extra shot where Jake didn't have his hand up and it would have ended that fight.
And he pulled
I think I read Tyson threw 18 punches through 8 rounds.
Right. Yeah.
Me throw 18 punches in 4 seconds back in the
They
day.
throw 18 punches before the fight started.
Yeah, there's a lot of theater. Even the slap before the. I don't know if you guys saw the slap. Even that's very uncharacteristic of Mike Tyson.
They're selling tickets.
They're selling tickets.
They're selling tickets, and it's. Yeah, I don't participate. I don't pay for it. Fine, do what you want. But when you see people are betting on it, again, it's like betting on professional wrestling. That doesn't happen. That's not a thing.
Right, absolutely.
It's not. Okay.
I will give him a little credit. I believe there was a women's fight right before theirs. A woman from New York, I think, an Irish lady, Amanda Serrano and Kate something. And I think it brought a lot of eyes to that fight. And I think that was actually supposed to be a good match.
Okay.
There's, at least there's some silver lining or some good to it.
There you go. Finding the bright side. Way to
Finding
go.
the bright side.
Way to go, Mr. Moon.
We got to keep it positive.
Always the ambassador of goodwill, Damoon.
Let's moving on to jiu-jitsu topics, real talk. John and I had discussed earlier in the week talking about blind spots in training, blind spots in our game and our jiu-jitsu. So we'll start off with that. Let's start off. What is a blind spot in jiu-jitsu? What does that mean?
Well, I'll start if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Well, a blind spot is the exact topic I remember I told you. Blind spots are built on ego.
Yes.
Okay, so it's your ego putting up blinders for certain things. Like one of the things I thought about was wrestling. Like everybody in jiu-jitsu always tells me how good or not good their wrestling is. And I don't think anybody I really train with has any wrestling in jiu-jitsu, right? They think they have wrestling, but if you think you have wrestling, you don't have wrestling. That's my personal thought. I see so many people coming in with their wrestling, and it's not really wrestling. It's just trying to use strength to overcompensate someone else.
It's aggression generally.
It's aggression and strength. So I think that is one of the bigger blind spots because somebody say, well, I'll just take the person down. Yeah, but what if you can't? Well, I can take the person down. That to me, when somebody responds like that, that's a huge blind spot. If you just assume you're going to take them down because you consider yourself a wrestler and the other person doesn't have much wrestling ability. That to me is a blind spot because you're moving into a situational exchange. You don't know what that person's going to do, right? You have no idea. Right. And, well, my game plan, I'm just going to take them down. Yeah, it's not, or I'm just going to pass their guard. What if you can't pass it? Oh, I can pass it. Stuff like that. That's the first kind of blind spot that I see is where people think that their abilities are beyond their how do I put this? Their expectations of their abilities are beyond their abilities.
The reality of what's actually going on.
The reality, yes. Their expectations of their abilities are beyond the reality of what's actually going to happen.
Like the Dunning-Kruger effect. The fact that you see yourself as so good is because you know so little. So you don't even know enough to know that you don't know. And it's it's the one great thing about the mats is they always reveal the truth.
Yes.
And that's the thing that if you go at this from the philosophical piece, the mats will always, you can say you've got a great your judo's great, and there's somebody who's pretty good at judo walks in.
Yeah, in the end, the mats are always judge and jury.
Well, I think that's an interesting reason why we call it a blind spot. I do agree that the mats show you the truth, and I think the reason why these blind spots develop is because people refuse to look at the truth. Like going back to the ego, right? You can't pass the guard, and then the person walks away instead of saying, I can't pass the guard. And I think this is where the conversation of blind spot starts. They say, it's not that I couldn't pass the guard, it's that I was tired, I didn't get enough sleep last night, and I went easy on him, or, they're upper belt, and I wanted to respect them, or they used too much strength, I didn't want to match their strength. And instead of seeing the truth of where their technique falls apart, they pad their ego so that they don't have to see the truth. Right?
And that just compounds the problem.
Right.
When you're lying, I always tell students, you can lie to everybody else. The only person you don't lie to is me. You can even lie to yourself. Just don't lie to me, right? Because most people do lie to themselves.
Absolutely.
You know, it's just, and when you're pursuing, let's just say an education, we'll call this, why would you lie to yourself?
No,
If you were going to medical school, would you say, no, I know that stuff when you know you don't know it?
not my chemistry's good. I
Yeah.
got this.
I got this.
Anatomy, top of the class.
No, it's the scale was wrong. I'm spot on with my measurements. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. People just, they, I don't know. They think that maybe if they lie to themselves, it'll be true.
I mean, that's where the John, go ahead. Sorry.
You were saying, Damoon, no, all I was going to say is we spent our whole time if you stay around long enough to get one of the belts that you want to get, your whole time is trying to fight that ego. Why at the end would you not accept? And I was just talking to Birdman about this before. As a grappler in his 50s now, I've got to accept some harsh truths. I'm a lot of times my opponents are way faster and way stronger, and a lot of them are pretty doggone good at jiu-jitsu. So you got to say, well, I don't have it. You know, this guy's better than me, and that's how you don't get hurt. Why would you?
Yeah, it's what now in that situation you got to be reasonable in your expectations and just come up with, what do I want to accomplish here? Okay, I want to be able to walk to the car without limping, right? I don't want to get hurt.
I have a mortgage.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to teach a class tomorrow, so maybe I won't push this that far.
You gotta, the whole thing about this thing is it shows you, it really, and I think we see a lot of it in, we see a lot of it with guys in law enforcement who come in, and there's a great portion of them who are really buying into this, and a lot of agencies are pushing it. But then you get those guys, and there's that skinny purple belt weed head, or that 120-pound purple belt or brown belt chick that puts it on them, and then they're like, well, I could have done X, Y, or Z, which you couldn't have done.
Yeah.
And they're like, this isn't for me. I'm just gonna go jack big steel, and that's gonna fix everything.
Yeah. Again, that's what I mean by the blind spot is what you can't see, right?
Right.
In a car, that's that person who's riding right in that spot. You speed up, they speed up. You slow down, they slow down.
And just turning.
Yeah, and then they create problems. So your blind spots create more problems than they solve. I don't think a blind spot solves any problems.
In jiu-jitsu, how much of that is that you can't see, and how much of it is that the person chooses not to see?
I'd say a lot of both.
Okay. Let's talk about the one we can't see. So how do blind spots develop that we can't see? That we're not lying to ourselves, but there's deficiencies in our game, but we haven't seen them yet.
I would say they're the newer belts.
Okay.
The white belts and blue belts, somewhat into purple belt, will have blind spots that they're just something they haven't encountered before. Or if you're at a school that really only teaches you the, I don't know, minimal stuff. Maybe what's trendy now they don't show a deep appreciation for the skill set, that jiu-jitsu can be.
Yeah.
They just show kind of what's been trendy or what's trendy now. And that's what the students know. So when they go up against somebody who knows how to pass the guard, they don't know what's going on. Right? So that's one of your blind spots there. And I think after we go over the hump, middle of purple belt beyond, like John was saying, it's, then you're a brown belt getting kind of not schooled, but having a tough time with the blue belt. So now you're going to not look at the glaring problems in your role. You're going to make, like he said, excuses.
Right.
So there's unwilling and willing blind spots.
The ego's causing a problem. The ego, you're not going to solve it by the ego accepting responsibility. A great example of that would be if you're able to, and you tell a story from way back in the day of a guy who was able to bait his passes off triangles.
Oh, I love
and
that.
Then he got up to then he got up to that level where the brown belts and black belts, who he was stuck, going one arm in, one arm out, something that we learned, month one for sure. Don't do that. That's not that you can't do it, but
You don't want to.
yeah, you're really giving the player on the bottom the advantage, and then it doesn't work anymore. You hit that wall, that resistance wall.
Yeah.
And then you have to either decide, I'm going to, and then in the story you tell, that player worked it back, went back and learned.
Yeah, I mean,
guard passing.
If you spend 6 or 7 years stuffing one arm in the guard to pass it, okay, you have to now you're gonna have to go back and learn stuff. You have to learn stuff you should have already known, years ago. You have to relearn. And it's just why? Why would you do that? Why would you it's to get away with it too, right? If I can get away with it for all these years, why should I take the time to learn it the right way?
Absolutely. How much of that develops? So for some people it's late white belt, for some people it's early purple belt, but somewhere between that range, most people have a technique that they gravitate towards and they get good at, right? Mm-hmm. Even a normal blue belt sometimes has an arm bar or a triangle or a guard pass or a cartwheel or a heel hook or something that they can do maybe even at a black belt level. Just one thing they find and just speaks to them.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people choose to just sit there and they just go to that one thing. I have a really good cartwheel pass, right? And they just cartwheel pass everybody. What? Dude.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So they just, doesn't matter who they're rolling with. They're doing a cartwheel pass or a rolling back take, or they're going to sit back for a leg lock, right?
Yeah.
And it might take them a long time to come across somebody who shuts it down.
Oh, or somebody just puts them on their back.
Or just someone and then all of a sudden they don't have their
they don't have anything. Yeah.
So how do you avoid that as a practice? How do you balance working the thing you're good at versus going to places that you?
I don't work the thing I'm good at. I work what I'm weakest at.
If it works, you shelve it. All right, I know that works. Let's move on.
I don't shelve it. I do work it, but what I focus on is, me personally, I focus on my weaknesses and my bad position and any bad position, and I work out of there.
Okay.
I get to a better position, then I give it up again. That way the person I'm working with gets something, I get something. That to me is a good role. I don't go in there with the intention that I'm going to submit this guy. I'm going to use my A game. I'm just going to do this. That's blue belts do that. Like we talked about last time about blue belts, did I tell you I'm canceling blue belts? I'm going 8 stripe white belts right to purple belts.
There we go.
No more blue belts.
No, that's really important. I think that Damoon's point on that is what pawns are you putting in? It's something I've said for years was if you're the best person on the mats, you're in the wrong room.
100%.
I mean, if no one is, and then to the point that Birdman just made, if you have the size, speed, experience advantage over somebody, you should be pulling that bottom position. Put yourself in bottom side.
Yeah.
Let them work. I mean, it doesn't matter. There's 0 times in the 14 or 16 years I've been doing this that I ever see an instructor, Australian, rappel out of the rafters and slap a stripe on somebody's belt because they got a submission in training.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not how the scorecard works, and at least not in any gym I'd want to be part of.
Yeah.
Something that Birdman told me as a purple belt, and I think it's a really interesting concept, but it helps us out here, is that people are as good as you let them be. So if you are in a room where most of your roles are quote unquote easy roles, if you give other people an opportunity to put you in bad spots, right, then even a white belt or a blue belt can feel like a higher belt because you let them get certain grips for free, and then you start working from there. And then you stay in that, it makes the role difficult. And when it's difficult, that's when you're learning something, right?
Yeah.
You're not cruising.
You only ever have to be that much better than your opponent. Right?
Right.
That's all. You don't have to build a highlight reel off of one roll. Right? Just control them. A little bit, Always let them think, oh, I almost had him. I almost got out. I almost did this.
It's handicapping.
Yeah.
And if you want to I mean, how do two golfers or bowlers or any, how do you make a fun event out of a sport where there's a disparity, right? Is you handicap it.
Yeah.
You give up positions, you'd let somebody, my father's 80, he plays golf, he hits from those forward tees.
Yeah.
It would not be fun for him to hit from the blue tees.
Right.
Yeah.
Not
Right.
anymore. But
yeah, I mean, you got to even it out a little bit.
and it should be fun. I think I think that's something I've been fortunate for the rooms I've been in where the training partners you gravitate to the people who give you the fun rolls. I've still run into people that I would prefer not to roll with. I think of some of the folks that we knew in Whippany where they come at you every time like they caught you coming out of their mother's bedroom. It's like, no, it doesn't have to be like that. Can't we just can't we just, and in positional rolling too would be the other thing. And I think that sort of dovetails into what Birdman is saying. Find that thing that doesn't work and put yourself in that really horrible position.
Yeah. Being a black belt that is beating up on white belts and blue belts is that's not a good look, I don't think, in a school.
No.
It's not, but being the humble person who can just say, all right, yeah, give me your best shot and just calmly get through it and have no efforts, no problems. And you get out and you laugh. It's like, okay, you want to try it again next week? Come back and try it. But I'm not going to hurt you and penalize you for, trying to give me trying to use stuff on me that I've taught you, right? My goal in life is to have all you guys submit me with stuff I taught you, right? Wouldn't that be a badge for me? Like, wow, that's not to keep you down and always beat you. That's what I think a lot of the modern players and instructors have lost. Like, it's our job to make you guys better. And if I can make you better than me, well, then that makes me a pretty good instructor. So that's kind of how I look at it. And it's, you don't get penalized for doing something right that I taught you.
I'm not doing this right.
Yeah.
And just to clarify to people listening, like when we're talking about letting people work, we're not talking about black belts and brown belts. You could be a 3-stripe white belt who's rolling with a 2-stripe white belt, but if you're choking that guy 5 times in a round, maybe you can let him pass your guard and let him beat you up a little bit, and
or work from a position you're not so comfortable with.
Right, exactly, and use that round instead
because that's how you learn, right?
Neither of you are getting anything out of that round.
Yeah. It's just, it creates tension between students, animosity, anger. I mean, it creates a lot of things, and who knows? The guy's always getting beat up. It's like, hey, screw this place. I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah. I'll even throw it a different way. When you're constantly working your A game, the guy on the other end is constantly your A game isn't getting much better, but he's finding ways of shutting down your A game.
Yeah, your A game is becoming your B game, and you don't have anything to replace it with.
But if you put the A game aside sometimes and you start working your B game, right? Then now you're improving. So when he catches up to step 1, your step 2 is already cleaned up, right?
Yeah.
When he learns how to pass your guard, your side control escape is already there, ready to go, right? Yeah. So that's unintentional blind spots. Those are the ones that we might choose not to see. How do you approach a student who's just been making the same mistake over and over again? Generally, like you said, it's probably an upper belt, late blue belt and on.
Yeah.
Where they just don't want to. I'm not the problem. My age is the problem. Their size is the problem. Whatever. How do you approach that student whose ego is getting in the way?
Well, I just got to shut that down a little bit. It's a lot of times I'll say to students, you just have to, you're not looking at this from the right angle. Look at it from my angle, watching you, and you're not doing it right. You're just doing it right. You're just making up for things with athleticism and strength, and that's not what we teach here. So you try to get through to them, and I don't know, sometimes it's a little tough love. Sometimes you got to give it to them, and sometimes you got to roll with them a little bit and show them, hey, you haven't figured it all out. You know, a lot of guys, you know, they come or they get to a certain point and their glass is full, right? You can't pour any more in the cup because they know everything. And those people are difficult to deal with. And if you know, if you're paying for lessons and you choose not to take them, well, that's on you. And when your game suddenly doesn't work, the last person you know, don't come to me with customer service to see why things aren't working, because I've already told you why things aren't working. So I think people sometimes need to have that spotlight of hard truth on them, like, you're doing this to yourself. And some people don't want to hear that. I think we can agree. And, you know, if they got to get down the road to figure something out somewhere else, you know, that's how life is.
All right.
But you try to get through to people. You do the best you can.
I'm going to throw a question to Johnny Cruz on this, related to this. Because I was, I guess, a blue belt when he was a brown belt. And we got to see you. JC was probably the only brown belt I got to train with consistently, right? There's black belts that came, but brown belts was always like this black hole in the Birdman school for some reason.
Yeah, the mysterious brown belts.
But, I mean, you had a long drive to come to the morning class. You had a bunch of blue belts that were hungry to do whatever. And you came into that room with some hard rolls, and you worked, right? Not what I see with a lot of – it's interesting because now, you know, me and the guys I'm coming up with are where you may have been, like, you know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And I'm seeing a lot of people, they've been training for 7-8 years, purple belt, brown belt. And they get to a place where they're like, fuck it, I've done this for long enough. I just want to win. I don't want to be the nail anymore. I was, you know, I did blue belt. I got smashed as a white belt. I got smashed as a blue belt. I did my time at purple belt. I just want to cruise to black belt. How did you keep working hard and not just being like, I'm just going to smash everybody and squish them to pieces?
So as the higher calorie grappler in most of my roles, I try to be a little bit, you know, mindful of, if I just use my weight, I'm not using any jiu-jitsu. So I think a number of things, and we had some great training partners when we were all training together. And again, you get one of my high pain in the ass, which is like one of my highest compliments. You know, this guy's a pain in the ass. I tried to do good jiu-jitsu. I tried to see where my holes are, and occasionally when I couldn't figure out something that you were doing, I'd take a private and we would talk about it. But that's pretty important. I think trying to look at and again, everybody's here for a different reason. As a guy who's worked remotely now for 3 years here in Florida, and really the 2 years prior to that, I was not around. Jiu-jitsu was my outlet for other adult interaction, and I really buy into what it is and what it brings to all of us. You know, it's therapy for people who don't want to go to see a therapist. It's movement. It's looking at folks. You're 40, I'm 50. John's same range as me here,
Pushing 60 actually.
Right. So looking at people who are our age who don't do anything, like looking at people who get up off the floor and it's a miracle, right? And you're like, oh my God, I think there's an ACL going to rupture here. What I kept doing was I just kept going, and I would get you know, the snot kicked out of me by you guys sometimes, you know, and it's just keep going. It's realizing that one of the ways I look at it is the sine wave. Sometimes you're on the face of the wave dropping in. Sometimes you're in the trough. And I don't know where you are today compared to where I am. And, you know, the best situation is I'm on the top of that wave and you're in the trough of your training, and I've got a good opportunity. I can work some stuff. There's also a great thing that I've heard years ago from Joe Rogan, which is that you need a good blue belt. You need somebody who's going to do a jiu-jitsu appropriate response to what you're trying to do, instead of just like going flat starfish like they melted.
Yeah.
Like I can't drill with you. Your reaction is not what, if I'm drilling with you, I was like, that's not what John would do if I were trying this on him. So this doesn't help. And the other thing, I have a good buddy of mine, Eric, who I've trained jiu-jitsu with forever. He talks about the plus minus equals, which I think is a really interesting concept, that you need those 3 grapplers in your stable to train with, you need that person who's better than you, and you can try stuff and it doesn't work. You need that guy who's not quite as good as you, that you can try that stuff and get it by, and work on it. That's where you're drilling. And then you need that, that other ram that you guys go head to head, and it's a coin flip every time. And I think you need those three grapplers to play with, because it's all important. If you're always the nail, you're not going to get better. If you're always the hammer, you're not going to get better. And to be honest, if it's always dead even, maybe that's not the right. So I think you need that quality spread of those three different experiences, so you can have those opportunities, give those opportunities, and then go for it, like many of the roles that you've given me, where I'm going to have to fight my way out of this, and if I make a mistake, I'm going to get caught. That was also the thing I will tell you I remember about all of my favorite training partners, was when you made the mistake and you felt your base shift, and you laughed and he laughed, because you both knew it happened. And that's where that was won. And the fighting out of the submission that you have locked in and hurting my shoulder I'm not using jiu-jitsu if I'm trying to muscle out of a Kimura or an Americana. What I need to do is figure out where 7 or 8 seconds ago I made the mistake and gave you the angle. Does that sort of get you what you were going for on that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's for the people here.
The people.
The people.
Well, so again, just like that, a blind spot could be if you can't finish a roll and explain what happened, right? You're not being present.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Right. That's the exchange. You get done like, I don't know. It's just constant reactions, but you don't know you can't explain what you did. And that's what I noticed with some people. It's like, I have no idea what I did. It's just like, you should
redlining it the whole way.
Yeah, man. It's just, the pedal to the carpet. And it's just, what does that get you? But if you can, like I said, to truly master a technique, in the end, it must be explainable and repeatable, right? So if you're mastering these rolls, you should be able to say, okay, I went for the scissor sweep, it failed, foot on the hip, leg up. I went for the armbar, that he pulled out of that. I went for the triangle, I brought my head to the other side, that messed up. So I went to the omoplata. Okay, simple exchange, but exactly what you did and your opponent did. If you
4 different things, you just explained an arc of 4 different things, when a lot of people they're just jab. Jab.
Well, even if they jab cross, but you come back and say, I went jab cross. You just remembered what you did. Most people don't have the presence of mind to remember what they're doing, because they're focused on the mistake they just made, and they're worried about the mistake they potentially could make next. Right? They're living in the past and the future. So if you live in the past and the future simultaneously,
you're not seeing what's going on in front of you.
You're not where you need to be in the present. If you're in the present, when you get to the end, you kind of know what happened. So
tell that story. I think of it a lot with and as you know, my background, the teaching firearms folks for a while. And when somebody makes a bad shot, maybe a really bad shot, and then you got to just whisper to them, like, you can't fix that. You have to, if you let that get in your head, that mistake happened at 1,400 feet per second. If you're going to focus on that mistake, everything that follows that's going to be trash. You just got to sometimes say, and this is ego, well, God, that was not that's not what I intended. Let's go ahead and take a deep breath, center yourself, and move on, because getting swept, and when people get their guard passed and they lift their head up to Mr. Belvedere, like they're trying to be polite, like, oh, please cross face me. You have head arm controls. Like, no, don't, whatever you do, don't let them do that.
It's don't worry about what just happened. It's over. It's irrelevant. It doesn't mean it's over and done with. I mean, you can't change it, so why think about it? Right? That's another blind spot most people have, is they're not present. And in their drilling, especially, and their exchange, because I could see somebody and like, hey, your hand was in the wrong spot. And you're like, oh, was it?
I'll throw that out. Actually, if you're ever drilling and something feels hard during drilling, probably doing it wrong.
Exactly.
If your opponent is giving you no resistance and the technique isn't flowing, sometimes the instructor missed a detail, sometimes you missed a detail, but there's something missing with the ingredients. If
Yes.
there's no resistance, there should be no difficulty other than controlling your own body, right?
Yeah.
If something is a movement that you're not used to, okay, it might be difficult. But when it comes to, if it's something's hard, ask the instructor.
Yeah. For sure.
On that note of training partners, something I think happens a lot in competition-based schools, but I think a lot of times with training partners, sometimes people don't exchange information. So you have your A game, you have a technique that works, and you catch someone with it over and over again, right? I think it's a good idea to tell them, hey, I caught you with this. Depending on your belt level, probably maybe you don't need to teach it, but you can say, hey, I caught you with this. You put your hand there. Every time you put your hand there, I take the Kimura.
Yeah.
Every time you defend the cross collar choke, I sweep you with this, right? When you give the other person a little bit of insight, it's like you're hiring them. What's it called when you send work to another country? Outsourcing. You're outsourcing your jiu-jitsu education to the other person. So they can do their homework to beat you, and they come back and they show you your blind spots for you, right? If you have something that works every time, then it's hard to know what's wrong with it. But if you start telling people what you're doing, how you're doing it, they'll come up with ways to beat it for you. And now you can get ahead of yourself by saying, oh, when people do this, I can learn this response. Or
you get better.
That's how you get better.
Yeah. Pressure causes evolution. If no one's giving you pressure, how are you going to evolve?
Right. Sometimes you got to pile the pressure on yourself. You got to help them put the pressure on you.
Yeah.
No pressure, no diamond.
No pressure, no diamond. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something it's a little ridiculous, but some people value winning in the room so much that they don't want to give away their special technique, you know?
Yeah. But it's, I always tell my guys, I've told you guys, we have to get better as a group. We're not going to get better as individuals, right?
Yeah.
It's not all about the one person. We're not all there to get one person better.
Right.
It's not how it works.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One person's guard gets better. That means that person's guard pass needs to get better. He passes that person's guard. Their guard gets better. And all goes up.
Yeah, post-pandemic, I don't like to say herd immunity in public anymore, but that's sort of what is the better.
We use pack mentality.
Pack mentality.
Yeah, with herd immunity, I'll throw something out there in honor of JC. John was really good about catching the Ezekiel from everywhere. So for me, Ezekiel choke, I would only think about it from mount. And I think a couple times I would be in half guard, and next thing I know, his hand's in my throat, and I'm tapping to Ezekiel.
Attaboy.
Now, when I teach half guard, any position where the person has head control, I don't care where it is, the Ezekiel choke exists. Right? It only takes one hand to defend, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to watch the other hand. I don't care if it's closed guard. I don't care if you're top of mount. If someone's hugging your head, you watch where the other hand is, right?
Yeah.
And that's it, right? Now when he comes back and he rolls with my guys and he can't get the Ezekiel, maybe he'll have to learn something.
And that's the end of the story, right? I mean, that's how the story ends. Is then if I can't get it on your guys, then you've done your job.
Yes.
Well,
but since you can't get it done on his guys, you have the next.
Well, now that I know that, I look for bringing the Ezekiel to bring me somewhere else.
Tomorrow we're going to work extensively all day with the Cruz clan to come up with what happens when the Ezekiel doesn't work.
Absolutely.
That way, you and your guys will think, okay, John Cruz is going to go for the Ezekiel. We have the defense. We're going to come out shining, but he's going to come up with a little bouncing over to Johnson, something else in there, and
for sure, yeah. I think that's where it gets really interesting with jiu-jitsu, where you start coming up with defenses that don't just block the immediate threat, but they block 2 or 3 moves ahead, right?
Yes.
Right.
High-level fundamentals.
That's what he said. High-level fundamentals.
High-level fundamentals.
Yeah, that's all it is. Fundamentals. Then you turn them into the high.
And that was one thing that we were fortunate enough training with you was we never had to worry about a 13-move sequence where if I got lost at move 7, I had to go back to the beginning because we've always trained principle-based.
Yeah.
And when you train principle based, you just think about what is this most like? Even if you start to sweep me or my base gets off, and I'm like, okay, now I'm going to go to half guard. I'm on top of half guard. He has an underhook or he doesn't have an underhook, and based on that treeing, I decide where I'm going, and I'm not worried about okay, I got to go pull out some recipe card with 42 moves, and I got to go through all the. I don't. I just go back to the principle, and the principle is I'm on top of half guard, and Damoon either has an underhook or doesn't have an underhook, and we're in the gi or not in the gi, and then we just boil it down from there.
Yeah. I think, and we'll slowly start wrapping it up here, some closing thoughts, but I think, based on what we're talking about in terms of ego and blind spots, a lot of people come into jiu-jitsu and they want to win quickly. How do I get good quickly? How do I start tapping people as a white belt or a blue belt? And when you're focusing on fundamentals, when you're focusing on weak spots, when you're focusing on blind spots, you're not going to win quickly. You're not going to be, I mean, you may win quickly, but most likely you're going to have a tough time as a white belt, a blue belt, and a purple belt. But when it all starts coming together in later belts, I'd rather be a good black belt than have peaked at blue belt, right?
Yeah.
Oh, when I was a blue belt, I tapped everybody with this flying armbar. But now that I'm a purple belt and everyone knows to pull guard against me, okay, right?
Yeah,
As opposed to, wherever I go, whatever position I'm in, I'm fundamentally sound. I have the formula, I have the principles to make it work. It takes longer to accumulate that.
Yeah.
But the end result is
there are no shortcuts in jiu-jitsu. There's no secret handshake. There's no mat time is the key. Mat time has always been the key to getting better at jiu-jitsu. There are no shortcuts. There's no hacks. There's no hidden secrets. It's all mat time.
Awesome. Johnny Cruz, any shout outs, any messages for the people out there? Any
play stupid games, win stupid prizes?
Yes.
If it looks like it's going to be easy, it's not. And if you're expecting this to be easy, why are you showing up every week?
One thing we have been passing around the school recently is addition by subtraction.
Sometimes the world just fixes itself for you, doesn't it?
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Any thoughts for the people out there, John? Birdman.
Yeah, just don't lie to yourself. Be a little more realistic with yourself of what you want out of jiu-jitsu or what you want out of life and what you're working with, right? Like John said, if we're old men, we can't go, balls to the wall, gung-ho all the time. I mean, we have mortgages and we have, things that we have to get done. So, I mean, you have to be realistic with where you're at right now, and you have to be realistic with what you want to accomplish. And, and if you want it all, you got to put the time in. No one's going to hand it to you.
All right.
No one's going to show up with Ed McMahon's not going to show up with a big giant check and say, here's your black belt. You've won. You're a black belt. You know everything now.
It doesn't end. It does. You don't stop. Even when you get your black belt, you don't stop working.
No, you got to work harder.
You got.
I will tell you, and I've said this to some people at the gym I'm training at in Orlando now. I have got my black belt 3 years ago. I think I've cumulatively tapped in that 3 or 3.5 years as many times as it took me to get to black belt. And again, part of that is putting myself in situations. Part of that is have good training partners and get caught and make mistakes. You have to open that up to get better. And it's okay not to win. And I think that the winning mentality thing is dangerous, but that's where people get hurt. And we've seen people get hurt. It's don't try to win, try to learn.
Yeah. Have fun. More than have fun.
It's a hobby.
When you and I roll, how much do we laugh?
A lot.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we have to stop rolling. We're laughing so much.
Yeah.
So that's what jiu-jitsu should be. And Jonathan always says, I forget where he heard it, but he always says to students come in, he's like, hey, if the jiu-jitsu class isn't the highlight of your day, you're in the wrong room.
What are you doing here? Yeah.
Yeah. Why are you there? If it's not the highlight, if you don't look at job and you look forward to going to jiu-jitsu, then why are you going there?
Absolutely. I'm going to throw this out there also because I know a lot of the old Goon Squad listens to these. We need to accumulate some pressure on John Cruz to come to Brooklyn to do an Ezekiel seminar at the 47 BJJ Co-op.
Well, I'm committing to it right now. It's going to happen. Damoon and I will work out the details.
Okay.
We'll get Anna on board. We'll figure it out.
Ezekiel masterclass?
I don't know if it's a masterclass, but you said you've got going on. I got a couple things. I've seen a couple different things down here. I'd like to talk to you guys about that. We talked about it, just philosophy. A lot of what this conversation's been, and thank you, Birdman, for looping me into this today. Great to see not only my professor, but one of my favorite training partners here in this two-dimensional, very dystopian post-pandemic vibe. But second podcast I've been part of with you, so that's pretty cool. But
and he's not real. It's just an AI image.
AI.
It's AI. It's not really Damoon.
It's easy to duplicate me. No, absolutely. A lot of, it's funny being an instructor now, but I tell my students a lot because, Constantine still comes around to the gym and trains, and they see like me give Constantine a lot of shit because now we're both brown belts. We roll with each other. I tell them like, hey, you guys don't know I used to be a white belt at some point. It's crazy to imagine that I was a white belt at some point, And I had people who taught me how to train. And Constantine, John Cruz, obviously. We'll shout out Jack.
Yeah, we had some, we had some great guys. Pete's in the mix. There's some, Craig the lawyer.
I had awesome people who taught me how to train. Who taught me how do you show up? How do you roll with the upper belt? How do you roll with the lower belt? How do you roll with someone bigger? How do you roll with someone smaller?
Women, kids is important. I got both my girls are training.
Absolutely.
You gotta.
They're savages. I saw them rolling today. Wow.
Awesome.
But yeah, I'm committing to this, Damoon. Now you got this. You don't just have to forward my email or share a voicemail. You can point people to the podcast.
That's it.
This is appearing on the internet, so it has to be true.
It has to be
true. This is on the internet. It has to be true.
But yeah, just go out there and keep doing it, and it's okay if you're not the best today.
Yeah. And this is one more thing. To the white belts, all belts, but mainly the newer people, ask more questions. Okay?
Ask more questions. Yeah, absolutely.
But here's the thing. Ask them after the class, like when the final thoughts, not before, when your instructor shows the technique. Don't ask questions before you even tried it.
Yes.
Right? Try it first. Then if there's problems, ask the questions. But if you don't understand, ask a question. Because we don't know. We're not mind readers. We can't tell you're having a problem. If we're looking at it and you're kind of getting by and you're unsure about things, ask the questions.
Absolutely. And you can, when you're trying it, you can try a few different things to see if you can figure it out yourself. And then when it doesn't work, you can be like, hey, I tried this during the roll, didn't work. We have more information to answer your question.
Sorry, I think it was last year. I snuck down to West Palm Beach. Laborda was doing a seminar, so I surprised him down there. And he gets to the end of the seminar and goes, "Does anybody have any questions?" And there's no questions. He's like, "Okay, hands up. Who got submitted in the past week?" Half the hands go up. Okay. Who got their guards passed in the past week? So he asked a few questions. Eventually, everyone's hand was up. He's like, "Okay, how come you don't have any? If you're getting submitted in your guards pass and you still have no questions?" And everybody's like, so think about that. Like if you ask questions of what's happening to you, you know what's happening to you. That's another blind spot. Absolutely. About lying to yourself, right? You're getting your guard passed all the time. Okay, but it's because, like you said, they're heavier, they're better, they're this or that. No, you can't use that excuse all the time.
We agreed to go 50%. He's clearly going 65%. He's not paying his down.
Well, I brought it up to 57.5%, and that was it.
All right, guys. On that note, we'll wrap it up. Take it easy. Enjoy your amazing weather in Florida.
Yes.
I might go jump in the ocean. I'll see you.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'll go kick some rats over here.
Go chase some rats and get your umbrella and galoshes and parka ready.
Hopefully we'll catch you guys in New York soon. Otherwise, everybody have a good day. We'll catch you guys later.